County Farm Bureau, Hamlin Jones Excavating and Drainage, Ayers Bank in Mowequa, First National Bank of Taylorville, and Harlow Industrial Services.
WTIM. And you're listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and the weather is certainly warming up. You are probably thinking about plants, maybe trying to focus on native plants, but there is a topic, a debate between straight species native plants and native cultivars or nativars. And joining us now to talk a little more about that and explain it all, right, is Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension. Andrew, thanks for coming on this morning.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, it is good to have you on, and I know you're going to help us distill all of this for us. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a native plant?
Well, a native plant is a plant that has evolved in concert with the soil and the climate and the fauna for a specific geographic region. So we sometimes refer those to as an ecotype. These plants are part of the ecosystem that was prior to European settlement here. So we have these original forms of plants that are found in nature. Sometimes they're referred to as the wild types or the straight species. And so you can compare those straight species to a native cultivar, which is sometimes referred to as the nativar, and that's a selection that's been bred and is a derivative of the native species. And so that's a clonally propagated species to where it doesn't have all the genetic traits that or diversity that the original straight species have.
Okay, so yeah, no, that's helpful to know kind of where they come from. So, we think about planting and native plants and the ecosystem in which they would exist. So, I guess my next question is, how well do, if at all, these cultivars or nativars support pollinators as well as wild types and other relevant species?
Well, that does lead to the debate. There's different reasoning. We have trials that occur, and so these trials have occurred across the United States. They do different trials, and so they look at the amount of visits that pollinators have to the flowers for particular species, but all these species are different or are grown in different areas. But we do have some studies. If you look at the Chicago Botanical Garden, that is in the same growing zone as we find in Taylorville. And so they've done a variety of studies with native plants. And so one of the studies that they did was purple coneflower. And for some of the species, there wasn't a particular difference for the nativar compared to the straight species as far as the attraction for the pollinator to visit that flower. So it really depends on the particular cultivar whether it attracts, but there are some nativars that aren't as attractive to the pollinators, and that sometimes occurs because they have a double bloom. Some of those flower parts have been adapted through breeding, and so they've changed. They have a double bloom instead of that single bloom. And so you really need to look at the particular nativar that you're looking at and see, does this match up with, is it somewhat close to the original straight species, or is it vastly different?
And then is it true that, like, in some cases, merely like the color of the plant can play a role where, one color's works in a particular ecosystem and then maybe another not so much?
Yeah, the color does make a difference with the attractiveness to the particular pollinators. We see that, even with the birds are attracted to, different colors, but blue flowers attract bluebirds and blue jays. But we look for our pollinators that whenever you have a color that's been changed or adapted because of the breeding effort, that can also affect some of those things whenever it comes to those that visit those particular plants when it comes to pollinators.
All right, so there's another factor right there. I think you had briefly, Andrew, mentioned the coneflower. I understand the Chicago Botanic Garden did a 5-year trial on them, and I'm curious what you have to share about that in relation to everything else you've talked about.
Yeah, they did a pretty extensive study. They focused on as I mentioned, single flowered cultivars because of their higher ecological significance compared to those double flowered species. And they found that 9 cultivars, including Cheyenne Spirit and the Sombrero series, they received a top 4-star rating for their health, vigor, and long bloom periods. And so you can look at some of the trials from the Chicago Botanical Garden to see in your shopping efforts, this is the same climatic zone, the hardiness zone that we're at where the Chicago Botanic Garden is. So you can look and see what success they had for how healthy the plant was, how vigorous it was, how tall did it grow. You can look at some of those and make those comparisons to what you would grow here. And so looking at these trials, you can look at not only purple coneflower, but there's a lot of plants that they've evaluated already. And so that is posted on their website, and you can go and find out, well, how does this fare for what I might be thinking to plant, and look at what you would be planting to see, is this, really looking at the tag and finding out, is this a straight species or is it a native? Does it have a name behind that scientific name with a quotation behind it that can tell you whether it's a cultivar or a straight species?
Yeah, and then so yeah, you've talked quite a bit about how how it's relevant, for pollinators. In terms of diseases, what should we possibly watch out for with coneflowers?
Well, coneflowers particular have a disease called aster yellows that's a major issue, and it can cause some stunting of the growth, some disfigurement. The flowers can look green instead of their color that they would normally have. So there's not a cure for aster yellows when it comes to purple coneflower. So you have to remove and destroy that plant to stop it from spreading. It's that particular disease is spread by leafhoppers. And so those leafhoppers spread to other flowers, and you'll find different diseases that you can scout for. And, insects do vector some diseases, and so it's important to keep an eye on what plants might look unusual. And sometimes it's a disease, but sometimes it's a genetic change. So if you've planted some seeds and then due to genetic variation, sometimes the plants can have a genetic mutation, and that's often how they find a particular plant species that they want to start a new plant from that and clonally propagate it by that variation that they found from growing it from seed.
Wow. So something else to watch out for as well, as told by Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension. Let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll hopefully talk about some practical tips with respect to all of this right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station, WTIM.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Lower across the board with corn, beans, and Chicago wheat. July corn down 11 3/4, 469. September corn down 11 1/2, 475 3/4. December corn 492 1/4, down 10 3/4. July beans down 30 1/4, 1198 3/4. August beans down 27 3/4, 1195 3/4. And November beans 1186 1/2, down 21 1/4. July Chicago wheat down 15 1/2, 660. September KC wheat 719 1/2, down 16 1/2. July bean meal down 470, 333.80. July bean oil down 49 cents, 73.83. Livestock trade May feeders 369.35 up 202. June live cattle up $1.25, 254.05. May lean hogs unchanged 90.90. Energy market July Brent crude oil down 4 cents, 105.59.
If you need care, Springfield Clinic Taylorville's walk-in clinic is available. Here's Dr. Pavi Gill with Springfield Clinic Taylorville.
Springfield Clinic Taylorville has walk-in hours from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You do not have to be a Springfield Clinic patient to be seen at the walk-in.
Get the care you need at Springfield Clinic Taylorville. Walk in from Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Summer is right around the corner, and there's no better way to cool down than with a crisp, refreshing glass of Prairie Farms lemonade. Choose classic or raspberry flavor. Every sip is made delicious to brighten your day. And even better, with each lemonade purchase, we'll donate a portion of the sale price to help support the Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, a national leader in the fight against childhood cancer. Just look for the special QR code on your favorite bottle or jug to learn more. So this summer, refresh your day and make a difference with the delicious taste of Prairie Farms lemonade. At Taylorville Estates Assisted Living, we take fun seriously, but we also take care seriously. Here you get the support you need without giving up the life you love. From help with daily tasks to delicious meals prepared for you, assisted living means less stress and more freedom. And when you're ready for some fun, we've got games, crafts, outings, exercise, and activities for every interest. Discover how easy and joyful life can be with the right support. Come visit Taylorville Estates Assisted Living. Call today to schedule your tour.
With over 8 hours a day of agriculture programming weekdays and 2 hours on Saturdays, WTIM AM, FM, and online is your ag information station. Listen by tuning in on air or online, and listen to WTIM Ag podcasts anytime.
Hi, I'm Bob Reddings of the Bob Reddings family of dealerships. See our huge inventory of about 2,000 vehicles by clicking on our ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
And this is the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. The show is sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I've been talking with Andrew Holsinger, a horticulture educator at the University of Illinois Extension, and we've been talking about traditional native plants and nativars, cultivars, all of that, and some things to watch out for as far as working with the ecosystem and preventing diseases. I want to get into some practical tips. What are some things, Andrew, that listeners can do, even just this weekend to kind of improve their local ecosystem in or with respect to what we've talked about so far?
Well, the one thing you could do is to know what you're purchasing. Traditionally, this has been Invasive Species Awareness Month time frame. So some plants that have been sold through the nursery trade have been found out later on to be invasive. But, talk to your fellow gardeners, maybe seek out some advice at our Master Gardener Help Desk there in Taylorville, happening on Thursdays from 9 to 11. Look at what you're purchasing, see what the context of that is. Look at those plant labels carefully. Look for those words and single quotations that let you know that it's a native-are or a cultivated native. If you don't see the straight species at the nursery, you can ask for them. So let the nurseries know that you're looking for that high-functioning plant that's going to help pollinators. You can avoid those double blooms if you're not going to have the prospect of those double blooms. Another thing you can do is don't deadhead everything. So leaving the spent flower heads, that's going to provide a food source for the songbirds like the American goldfinches. And check out resources like we mentioned with the Chicago Botanical Garden. There's also the Mount Cuba Center has trial reports. There's a USDA plants database that has lots of information. But we have some wealth of information that we have at a resource that has been developed by Illinois Extension, and that's our pollinator website. So IllinoisPollinators.org. There is a lot of information. We have information about
Nice.
what the different pollinators are, pollinator habitat design.
Andrew,
and research.
sorry, I got to cut you off. We are out of time. Thanks for joining us.
All right, good.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville. 96.1 FM Taylorville. 107.5